Hello, in this presentation we will compare QuickBooks Online versus QuickBooks Desktop. Hello, in this presentation we will set up a QuickBooks Online account for a new business within QuickBooks Online version. We will have a comprehensive QuickBooks Online course soon, if not available yet. We also have a comprehensive Excel course which complements the QuickBooks courses and a QuickBooks Pro desktop version course you can find at the link below. We are now at the Intuit website. Intuit is the owner of QuickBooks, so we're at quickbooks.intuit.com. This is where we're going to register for the online version. We're going to scroll down to the options and the products that QuickBooks has on this page. Note as we scroll down that QuickBooks does has multiple versions of the software, including an on-ground or desktop version that we would download and an online version. We're going to be looking at the online version here. The QuickBooks Pro is the most popular desktop version. We're not going to go over the pros and cons at this point. We can take a look at that at a later time. At this point, we're just going to download or register for the online version. When considering the online version, there are still some options here. We have the Simple Start, we have the Essentials, and we have the Plus options. They all have their pros and cons. Obviously, the price is going to be the major pro for the Simple Start. If you just want to invoice and get used to QuickBooks Online and see what it's like, then that would be a good way to go. You can then increase or upgrade to the Essential or Plus at a later time. If you need to do more functionality such as pay bills, which if you're doing the full service items within QuickBooks, you would most likely need, and therefore the Essential is probably the most common used, at least for service companies. We're going to be using the Plus plan, and that's mainly going to have the difference here of tracking inventory. So if you're having inventory, you're going to need the Plus plan, and it has the added benefit of tracking the 1099s. Those are things you're going to need to pay at the end of the year, of course, and so if it could track that for you, that makes the 1099 process easier at the end of the day. So we're going to go for the Plus plan mainly because of the inventory option. If you already have an account set up with Intuit with some of their products, they have different products such as TurboTax, QuickBooks Pro Connect, then you already have the ID here. If not, then you can go ahead and just sign up and create a new account. Once that's set up, you can say, yes, that's correct. We have the account set up. Then, of course, we have the billing information that we will have to input. Once you have completed that process, it'll go through the quick thinking and setting up your accounts. We will then set up our business name here and how long we have been in business. It's important to set up the correct business name here. This is what they're going to set the business account up as. If you have worked with the on-ground version or the desktop version, you know that you can set up multiple files there, but when we're using the online version, we would in essence need different accounts in order to run multiple different client files or multiple different business files. So we need to make sure that we're having one business at a time that will be running through the online version. We're going to select less than a year. We are going to have this be our first month of operations, or we're going to put in a beginning business, a business starting out. If you are inputting data from a prior QuickBooks file, or if then you could go through a process. There is a process that we can look at a later time on how to do that. And if that is an option, you're going to want to select this. I've been using QuickBooks Desktop and want to bring my data over. We're going to start a new business in this presentation and start it from scratch. Next. This screen is going to give some options in terms of what we want to emphasize here. And basically just telling you kind of what QuickBooks can do and what you want to emphasize within QuickBooks. We're just going to select All Set and go forward from there. That will basically be it for setting up the account. We're now in QuickBooks Online. We have a new account set up and we can go forward and enter the data from this process. This first page doesn't look very interesting yet because we don't have any data populated. We will be looking at a file shortly that has data populated and go through the components of this page, but we want to look at it with nothing in it first so it looks like as it would in essence when we go into the program. The layout could change from time to time because QuickBooks is going to be updating the layout as it goes, so it may look a little bit different, but the features will remain the same. If you're used to using the desktop version, you'll note that it looks a lot different because the desktop version usually will open to a home page. Now, experienced users probably don't need that home page. They can probably navigate without the home page, and new users aren't going to care because they've never seen the home page. I have noticed, however, that the home page is really useful for experienced users to coach or help out new users because it gives that flow chart of how the process works. So we don't really see that. However, we do get a nice little summary page of the activities that are happening, the activities that are often most useful or most wanted to see by business owners, including a quick profit and loss, expense, and the bank information here, invoice, sales, and tips. So that's what the first page is going to look like. All the functionality, obviously it's going to be a database program that will be able to do pretty much the same type of stuff as the online and the on-ground can do. However, the layout is different. Rather than having the drop-downs, which you may remember or may be similar to people that used Microsoft Office products way back before they changed to the ribbon, that's basically the format of the desktop version. Within the online version, we're going to have this item here. So this item will open or close the menus on the left-hand side. So you want to get used to this item and be able to click that. That'll give you just some more real estate, some more space on the screen. And then if we click that, we'll get our items over here. We are currently in the dashboard. That's going to give us this quick look of what is going on. Not too much activity here. We don't have any activity until we have something going on. Then we've got the banking tab. And we'll go through these tabs a bit more in depth as we start entering data and look through a file that has more data. But we have the sales tab. And once you go into these, you want to check the tabs up top and see how to navigate through this. We got the customers up top here. We can enter new customers, products, and services. And then we've got the expenses. So expenses here, and then the vendors. That's who we owe that we can enter there. We have the employees, of course, and we'll enter our employees there. Reports tab is going to be where we navigate around and get to the reports. Here's our tabs up top, my customer reports and whatnot. Taxes, and then we have accounting, reconcile chart of accounts, no activity at this time, and then my account and apps. We also have this information over here. You're going to want to select this plus item, and this will have most of the functionality in a nice quick area here. So when we want to create an invoice or receive payment, a check, bills, most of the normal thing, process payrolls, this is a way we can go into that and do that pretty quickly. You also have this cog over here, and this will give you some more company information, how to set up your lists and other tools. So we're going to go through these as we set up the company, and we'll also take another look at this as we have some data that will be populated, so it'll look a bit more interesting and we can navigate around and see how to use this information. Hello, in this presentation we will download the QuickBooks Pro 2018 desktop version from the Intuit website. It is possible to purchase QuickBooks on ground at an office supply store and possible to purchase online as we are doing here. This is purchasing from Intuit's website. Intuit is the owner of QuickBooks, so we're here at the QuickBooks website at the Intuit website. It is possible to purchase at other locations like Amazon, but just make sure that you know where you're purchasing from and it's a secure place to purchase from. I'm going to scroll down through the site. The site will change over time, but the purchasing options should remain. Note that QuickBooks has an online version. We'll do a comparison with the online at a later time. There's pros and cons to the online version. We here are looking for the desktop version to actually download it to the desktop and work through the desktop. That's kind of like the original QuickBooks version, and that's what we will be working with here. I'm going to scroll down to the options. We're looking for the products, and we're looking for QuickBooks Pro. So I'm going to click on QuickBooks Pro. QuickBooks will update the software pretty much every year. These are the options we have here. We got QuickBooks Pro 2018. That's what we are looking for. This is the current price point. We have the Premier 2018, and you can go through the added options that we have in the Premier through the check marks here. So we've got 150 industry specific run reports on the Premier, and they have some forecasting options, industry specific features. And therefore, basically the concept would be that Pro is going to be for the majority of users, if we're looking for specific items, then it's possible that Premier would be useful, and then we can look into the Enterprise for more specific options. We're going to start here with the QuickBooks Pro. As you go through the purchasing process, QuickBooks may prompt you for some other things to purchase, one being Payroll. Now here's the option for Payroll. It may be something you want to consider, but you may want to consider it at a later time. There will be an option to purchase Payroll at a later time. So I would go through this. I'm going to go through it and continue without the Payroll at this time and just download the QuickBooks Pro. We're then given our options here. We got the method is going to be a download. The users is 1, and that's going to be the items that we will have here. Clearly then we're going to have the payment options. Once we complete this process, we're going to have our information here, and we can then download. You will have a license number and product number. You're going to want to keep that in place, maybe screenshot the screen here and keep that in a place where you can go back and get back to Intuit if there are any problems. So we're going to go ahead and download. Depending on the browser you have, you may have an icon down here with the download option. This is within Chrome. If you're in Firefox, it's probably going to have an arrow up top. And if you're in Explorer, it's going to have some other indication, probably a bar that will indicate the download. You're going to want to open up the downloaded item in whatever format is there. And of course, we're going to have to allow it to run with the security system. And it does take some time for Intuit to run this. Intuit QuickBooks is a fairly large program, so give it some time to run, get some coffee, let it get set up. Once the program has been downloaded and unzipped, it should automatically prompt you to run the program. If it doesn't, you'll go through there and go ahead and run the program, but it should automatically prompt that. If it does not do so, you're probably going to see a setup QuickBooks on your desktop that has been implemented on the desktop, and you could try to run that as well, or do a search for QuickBooks and run the setup process like so. So we're going to say next and let it run the setup process. Once again, this will take some time, so give it some time to run through this. QuickBooks is a large program. We will, of course, have to accept the terms. So, we'll want to go through all of the terms here, read through the terms, accept the terms, and next. You will then have a page prompting the license and product number. Now, that was given to us when we were to download the product, when we said to screenshot the page. So now we're going to enter that product number and license number here. Once that has been completed, we have the setup process, express or custom network options. Typically, if we're going to use the default, which is the default, which will be Express, if we have some custom network options that need to be configured, then we're going to probably want to work with IT a bit more and make sure that we're configuring the custom network options. I'm going to go here with the Express. Once that has been completed, QuickBooks will once again be going through a fairly extensive installation process. Remember, QuickBooks is a fairly large program, so let it think and let it process. Once this has been completed, we should eventually see an icon on the desktop that will be the QuickBooks program, and of course, that is where we will open the program.